I feel like we should have more moon technology or some shit. You know what I'm saying? I think shit is like flying up from the ocean to the sky.
It's like surfing in some oil spillage. Inhaled like a whole bag of goose feathers.
I worry primarily about whether there are nightclubs in heaven.
So it's a band.
Yeah, it's a band. Yeah. He used to, like, when he was younger, he would beat up audience members at shows, so it was, like, kind of dangerous to see him.
Oh, like crowd killing or
Like punching, getting in fights with people on stage, because he was a boxer and wrestler and had, like, anger issues.
And he would just bring people up and beat the shit out of them.
Thank you for supporting my music.
He's calmed down a bit since he got older.
I should hope.
He started out in like a full suit and he slowly stripped the layers down until he was shirtless.
Hot.
Like one article of clothing per song.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Like
and then
strip
he
poker,
put
but
on
not.
like this nice leather vest that covered part of his chest.
Just like after he'd removed all the clothing, he would then bring out a leather vest and put it on.
Yeah, he had the side in his backpack.
Cool.
Same. I do. I also have a leather article of clothing with me at all times, just in case, you know?
Yeah. Whenever you feel like it, and whenever like the temperature drops below 80.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah.
But
that's it.
like leather vest and absolutely nothing else, that really sounds like just such a look.
The look.
Yeah.
Quintessentially, truly.
It's the look. Capital T, capital L, the look.
The look.
I should probably ask what band this is that we're talking about.
Oxbow?
Oxbow.
Yeah.
Weird noise rock band that's been around since the late 90s.
Neat.
Neato.
They put out one of my favorite albums last year called Thin Black Duke.
I get it.
That's a description of the vocalist.
Yeah.
He's not thin.
Thin black what?
Thin Black Duke.
So it's like
Oh, yeah.
like that. It's like
Yeah.
a nickname for David Bowie, except it's black.
Yeah.
So this is Oh Well You Bastards, kind of episode 20.
Is this episode 20?
Yeah, now it's 18.
So kind of episode 20, you're just rounding up. I appreciate that.
Well, we had to make 2 episodes private, our first 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's just call it episode 20, shall
Episode
Thank
20.
you. Okay, great. I love a good
The first
20.
2 episodes are exclusive. You have to pay a certain fee,
Yeah.
aka our future Patreon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Future Patreon?
Yeah, I'll start eventually.
Eventually. Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, Jack already has an art Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had a music Patreon for a while.
I had one for cheap windows. It was only family supporting it, and I decided to close it because it wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Relatable. Me neither. Anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah. Oh, are we doing it?
you
Okay.
go straight in every time.
Love it. All right.
We've firmly established which episode of the podcast this is. Should we establish the guest?
Maya Little-Saña
Yeah.
from Faith to Go podcast.
Oh, yeah. That is where I'm from. Yeah.
Cross-promotion.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm part of Faith to Go podcast, which is a podcast through St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral. It is your on-the-go resource for faith discussions with your friends, with your family, with your dog. So we discuss a gospel story every week. It's me, my boss, David, and Jackie Pippin, the Reverend Jackie Pippin, who lives in Japan, and she's awesome. So, yeah.
So she's like Skyping in when you do this, or?
She calls David on FaceTime, and then he connects his phone to a mixer, and then like it audio splits into headphones so we can hear what she's saying, and then all of our recordings go through the mixer and into his laptop. It's kind of
Cool.
a lot
Sidebar.
of cords.
Ian, their setup is way cooler than ours.
Yeah, and I've heard if you don't want to deal with all that, there's a service called Zencaster where people could call in and it'll just give you an MP3 at the end.
That's nice.
That is cool.
So it skips like the Skype and mixer routing and all that.
Right. Well, we have a mixer now, so that would have been good to know, I think, at the beginning of the podcast. But shoulda, woulda, coulda, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's part of my job, and it's really cool. I enjoy it a lot. So, I'm a youth minister at St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral. So it's really fun.
So how long have you been doing Faith to Go?
The Faith to Go podcast, it's had many kind of iterations. It first started not as a, I think, regular podcast, but we were recording it as a podcast, just David and I, through just his it was headphones, like, but you know the mic that gets attached to headphones, like those really old school headphones that you have in like your
that
computer
either
lab.
telemarketers use or like Britney
Exactly.
Spears.
So he like bent it up so that it was like we were talking. It was really a janky setup, and then connected to his Mac. But that it had started as part of our Right 13 curriculum. So Right 13 was like pre-confirmation, and we had developed a curriculum for that. And then it was born into a regular podcast. I would say about a year ago. So it's been good. Over a year ago. Yeah.
Cool. And just for anybody who is listening to this that might not otherwise have listened to your podcast, what are like some of like the favorite topics that you've discussed, like your personal favorite topics to get into on the podcast that you've gotten into before?
Well, we talk mainly about whatever topics arise from the gospel reading that week. I really enjoy some episodes we've done on, we have a lot of recurring themes because, the Bible does that, particularly Jesus does that. And I really enjoy our discussions that we've had on the book of John, which is definitely the more mystical of all the gospels. So it's really cool to get the other two hosts' interpretation. I really enjoy, we talk a lot about, I think, the real world application of these things, and I feel like I really grow whenever we do the podcast because it really makes me dive deeper into the text. And both David and Jackie went to seminary. David has a master's in divinity. Jackie's has a master's in divinity and is a priest. So I'm always learning a ton of stuff, and it's cool. Yeah, and I just graduated high school like a couple years ago.
I listened to the episode from last Friday, shortly before you arrived, and I liked how you were talking about scene kids and trying to describe it to people who didn't know it.
So we're recording for about I would say about 2 hours every time we record every Thursday. And in the time that we were recording, we're all pals and stuff, and some stupid ish gets said, particularly by myself. And so, yeah. And so David, we started doing like a cold open, kind of like an SNL where they just go straight into a sketch and then the intro. So we have a cold open, and it's primarily me trying. So this past episode and what Ian's trying to say, it was I was explaining to Jackie and David what Scene Kids were. And I had pulled up a photo of Scene Kids, and I was like, this isn't a phase, Mom, this is what I really am. And then it went into the intro.
I'm pretty sure every picture of a Scene Kid on the internet has that label on it.
Exactly. So it worked, precisely. It works quite well.
If you're listening and you're not familiar, just think emo but neon colors.
And raccoon stripes on your hair, and just your forehead always has to be covered. It's to cover your third eye or something. I don't know.
Raccoon stripes,
and also the most woke.
And evidently. Also some sort of quail pattern or peacock or some sort of exotic bird also printed on your hair.
Right. And or like those feather extensions.
Yeah,
I had one of those.
It's way more upkeep than goth hair.
Oh, absolutely. And you actually wash your hair, because most goths I know don't wash their hair.
Yeah, Scene Kids are at least clean.
Goth, you could like rock bedhead all day for that
works.
Robert Smith look.
Yeah, the greasier the better.
They have lots of hairspray, the Scene Kids. I admire their commitment to destroying our ozone.
All those CFCs.
Right, always. But yeah,
that was noxious cloud, but very sanitary.
Most of the episodes comprise of sometimes a cold open if little gem gets said, and then we go into our intro, just introductions. And then we have this sketch, or like this kind of segment we've been calling George Pan Venn diagram. And it's kind of just a really silly sketch before we get into that gospel reading for that week. And it's David recently, 2 months ago, had a son named George, was born, and, he's an infant. And Jackie lives in Japan. So it's a segment where we find similarities between George, the baby George, and the nation of Japan. And we call it the George Pan Venn diagram. And that's been fun. Like, Japan's a rabies-free country, and George is a rabies-free baby.
Both very good things. Wait a minute, they're completely like 100% rabies-free.
It was eradicated, yeah.
Wow. Good for Japan.
Yeah.
And good for that baby.
I know, right? Well, this is a participation trophy society. Like, congrats, you don't have rabies.
Michael Scott doesn't have to raise money for rabies in Japan.
For the cure.
I'm just knocking on wood for no rabies.
Yeah, no rabies for George
no rabies
or
and
Japan.
babies. No babies getting rabies.
Right. No fund run for the cure of rabies, yeah. So we can get to what Japan has. Eradicated, like, 0 rabies.
I don't know. That would require vaccines.
God, vaccines.
I don't trust them.
Oh, yikes. All right. This is my cue. It was a great podcast, boys.
Yeah. I get the mandatory ones. I stay away from the flu shots because I have a compromised immune system, so I always get sick when I get a flu shot.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, don't do that.
Just give me whatever vaccines you have. I'll just take all of them.
All of them. All at once.
They're here for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, even when we were in elementary school in the 90s and 2000s, like, there were classmates that weren't vaccinated back then. Like, their parents were objected to it.
Yeah, that was
before it got huge.
Before it became a hot button topic, but, like...
Gosh, I would say it's
I don't like polio.
It's a lukewarm button topic, but yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's
I don't like polio either. I'm not a fan.
Not a fan, really.
Can't say I enjoy that.
Or rabies.
Well, I guess don't knock it till you try it. It's one of those things, but no, I'm kidding.
Can you just dabble in rabies or polio?
Right. Man, I was a crazy high schooler, you know.
I just got into polio for a couple of years, then I got out of it. It's just kind of an embarrassing phase.
It was just a phase. This isn't
glad
a phase,
I put it
Mom.
me.
This is who I really am.
And then 10 years later, you got that picture of you in an iron lung, and you're just like, oh my God, so embarrassing.
So embarrassing. You might have seen kid photos.
I can't believe I thought polio was cool.
A lot of diseases that like don't happen here anymore because like we've gotten vaccines for them. Like they're still common in the developing world. Like even though there's a cure for leprosy, there's still a lot of lepers in India.
I'm actually reading a really interesting book right now. It's called In the Sanctuary of Outcasts, and it's about this prison in Louisiana in the 1990s where it was a facility for people, the last surviving people with Hansen's disease, like leprosy. In this, and they were quarantined, mandatorily quarantined in this facility all throughout, the 19th and 20th centuries. But as, leprosy, the numbers dwindled, and so it was only about 100 patients in the 1990s in this facility, and the facility was huge. They actually made it a prison, the other half. So it's this guy's memoir about being a prisoner, and it's called In the Sanctuary of Outcasts, and then kind of puts it in somewhat of what I can see so far, a biblical perspective of Jesus eating with lepers. And they had to learn how to kind of accept that, like interact with people that you could get their disease, but then also them accepting these inmates and these convicts. And it was just, so far it's good. But I didn't even know that was a thing, where it was this prison where for a while it was people with leprosy and convicts like living together. I thought that was very interesting.
Wow.
I mean, they had mainly they were separated primarily, but for certain things they would often come across each other and come across and interact on various occasions. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
There's an animal that carries leprosy. I think like armadillos or aardvarks, one of the two.
I think it might have been an armadillo.
I'm guessing armadillos.
Because in the book,
I don't trust them.
Yeah,
that would make sense with like Louisiana or Texas being that area.
In the book, the guy who's writing it, he frantically asking people like, "How do you get leprosy? Like, I don't want to get leprosy." And he's saying, "Well, it could be an armadillo." He's like, "Okay, we don't have armadillos. Check." Or you could like breathe in a droplet of like saliva or something, and so he doesn't breathe for half the book.
Sounds dangerous.
Right. not advised medically. So I think it's armadillos.
Yeah. Fuck armadillos.
Honestly, you said what we were all thinking. Stand up for what you believe in, even if you're standing
I say
alone.
what's on my mind, including, but not limited to, fuck armadillos.
Can you imagine if that was limited to? That's just the only really kind of
that's
pressing opinion you have.
The only issue I stand on. I go to like town hall meetings. I'm just like, what are we gonna do about these armadillos?
Sir,
Fuck
this is an
mosquitoes.
appropriations committee,
Somebody get Jack out of here. He's here at every meeting.
I know. Sir, this
Death
is just
to dillos.
Death to dillos. I like it. It's alliterative.
I can put it on a sign. It's
That's
catchy.
a good bumper sticker.
It's straightforward.
Death to dillos.
I'm ready to start this campaign.
Please. It's not what we asked for, but it's what we need.
Yeah.
Never knew we needed
And honestly, carrying leprosy is only like number 5 on
I hate koalas.
on my tiered list of reasons why armadillos are terrible.
I love all of God's creatures except for koalas. Like it's just
Drop bears.
Oh yeah, chlamydia.
Yeah, well,
koalas.
chlamydia, and then it's not less chlamydia, right? Like people get chlamydia, and that doesn't mean they're awful.
It's
but
just around.
right, but it's
Humans, bears,
they're
it just happens to them.
I'm kind of pissed off that they're
there's
like
like
the
this-
only animal that evolution has catered to because
Yeah.
they have thicker skulls because they fall out of trees, and they're like, "Oh, let me help you out, buddy, and enable your stupidity because eucalyptus leaves are like toxic to them."
Yeah,
They just love 'em.
It doesn't. It has no nutrition, and like they can't
Right,
absorb it.
their
but they still eat
gestational
it.
period on average
I'm just
is
gonna
longer
say-
than the time shorter than the time they take like shits.
Okay, they love consuming something that's toxic to them and just generally don't care about their own self-destructive behavior. Let me just tell you, cigarettes.
Because I mean, look, that don't you know that you're toxic?
We are no more innocent than koalas.
I don't know, but not everyone smokes cigarettes from birth. I mean, I know people that it seems like that's the case, but
I've known a few, yeah.
You know, with like the cigarette prices rising in New York and California, I think it's working because like I know multiple people giving up smoking right now. They can't afford it anymore.
Yeah, I've known people like that as well, and someone was commenting, it's just not as popular here. I'm like, well, it's just not as cheap here, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cigarettes are becoming a
The
luxury
eucalyptus
item,
leaves
and
are
it's, like,
free,
all poor
and that needs
people
to
that
stop.
smoke
We
them.
need to
They
tax
literally
the
grow on
eucalyptus leaves.
trees. Yeah. But I don't know what the history with like cigarette taxes is in Massachusetts, but when I was in Boston, like all the guys who smoke would be like taking a smoke break on the dock, and it'd just be like, it would basically, they would do it in rotation, like whose turn it was to like let everybody bum cigarettes off of them. It's like, I don't want to buy a pack this week. Can I go on?
At least they're organized. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, it was nobody. They didn't like work out or a chart or anything. It was just like somebody would just be like
A wheel.
The cigarette wheel. Yeah.
Right, like the tour wheel in the office,
Yeah.
you know?
But you guys know about drop bears, right?
No.
No.
Okay, I don't know where it came. I don't know how it started, but like, I guess it's just the fact that in Australia all animals are deadly, so they assumed that koalas were too, and there was just this legend of koalas that drop out of the trees onto you with like extreme fangs and just like maul you.
I mean, they do drop. But
Yeah,
that's because they
but
like pass out.
They
you
fall
know?
out from stupidity, but not
Right.
as a hunting tactic.
Oh no, but if
Yeah,
I
but
was
you can
that
just Google
stupid,
drop bears right now, and you'll see
I
like
would-
photoshopped images of.
I would make people believe that was my reasoning, so as to defend my own stupidity. I'm like, yeah, it's a hunting tactic. That's what it is. Yeah.
they maul innocent hikers every single day in Australia.
'Cause I'm
They kill
bad.
more people in Australia than snakes, spiders, and dingoes combined.
Combined.
Yeah, and sharks.
One of the
Don't forget about
suggestions was
sharks.
Drop Bears Anonymous.
Drop Bears Anonymous.
Me too.
You can see, show her the pictures. I've seen these before.
These are the images.
Just koalas with massive
koalas.
bared fangs. I think that's
I
like
think we have to. What about a restorative justice approach, where we think about how is their childhood? You know, like why are we demonizing these creatures?
probably because they had.
I mean, we can
they had-
demonize koalas.
They
but
had
not drop
baboon
bears.
fangs photoshopped into their mouths.
That's not their fault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of
There has
an
to be better
upbringing thing,
rehabilitative programs for these koalas.
where we just restore the original file so that it's just an innocent koala.
That's that's what we should do. I was watching John Oliver, and I guess he got a chlamydia award. When who was it? Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
That like had donated a ton of money, and so it was like the John Oliver like Koala Chlamydia Award.
Yeah, the full story, as I can recall,
It was like the jock strap or something, right?
It was like Russell Crowe was celebrating his divorce by auctioning off a bunch of memorabilia that he brought home from his movies, and like John Oliver, who frequently just throws around studio money for ridiculous shit to make a point on his show.
Oh, it's hilarious! I love it.
Spent like a shit ton of money buying like the things that other people didn't want, like the jock strap from Cinderella Man, and his vest from Les Miserables, and just like shit like that. And
Didn't
then
he like donate
and
it
then
to
he
a Blockbuster in Alaska?
donated it to the few remaining Blockbusters.
I think it's like
and-
one
Yeah, or it might have just been the one. Yeah, but
one
like
Blockbuster in
yeah,
America.
and then it shut down anyway.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it got on the news for a little while. It got a little spike in business, and then it dropped off, and then they went out of business.
He makes a website for like most of the fake causes that he starts to.
My favorite is what was it? It was his televangelist episode. It was like Our Lady of Perpetual Exemption.
Oh yes,
Yeah, that
yes.
was so funny. With
And
Rachel
he
Dratch.
still brings it back every once in a while. He
I
just tells people
love it.
to give.
I mean,
give.
I just love binge watching like like Trinity Broadcasting Network
Oh my
is my
God.
ish. I love the 700 Club. I love there's like this children's network called Smile of a Child. Even when I was a kid, I didn't really grow up super religious in a religious household at all. So I'd be like, I didn't know much about Jesus, but I knew those kids were cringy, and I would I loved cringe binge even as a small child. You know?
Since I almost went into civil engineering, like the one that piqued my interest was the infrastructure episode where he had like the dam inspector movie trailer.
Oh yeah. I love John Oliver. He's like great. What was the other one where it was Marlon No, that was Trevor Noah. Wait, who was the one with the bunny rabbit book?
That was John Oliver.
Oh,
still.
that was
yeah,
so
it was about Mike Pence's pet rabbit.
Right, because Mike Pence's daughter had released a book about, it was like a day in the life of Marlon Bundo.
Marlon Bundo, which, credit where it's due, is just a terrific name for a rabbit.
Right. He's a vile man, but he has a great funny name.
The one right thing that Mike Pence ever did was naming that bunny.
I can commend him for that. Yes, sir.
Or at least letting somebody else name that bunny.
Right. His would be like, let's see, abortion is not a human right or something.
Yeah.
Bundo, or, some fun bunny way spin off of that.
Changey, the conversion therapy bunny.
Right. Peter Rabbit. I don't know. Wait, that's an actual rabbit name by Beatrix Potter. That wasn't good. Anyway.
Peter
Iron Tail by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Okay, see, that was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. Peter, ignore the AIDS crisis tale.
Wait. Peter, the AIDS crisis is a tale.
T-A-L-E. I get it. That's good.
But
yeah. But then, John Oliver, being the petty son of a bitch that he is, commissioned a children's book of Marlon Bundo, where Marlon Bundo is gay and in a healthy relationship, which of course it outsold him.
Right, I was in Barnes and Noble, and I don't go there often, but that book was there, and I was just so tempted to buy it. I thought it was so funny. What was the other big thing he did? He did I don't know, he's done a bunch of that kind of stuff, like those big grand gestures. Oh, Catheter Cowboy. When he bought the airtime on Fox and Friends to be like, and I don't like pain when I cath, to try to send Donald Trump messages. You know what the nuclear triad is and stuff.
Just trying to educate Donald Trump on basic shit.
On the commercials. And he's like, Catheter Cowboy.
In a 30-second ad.
John Oliver is pretty humble about what he does too. He has the classic British inferiority complex. He'll go on morning shows.
Does he? He never talks about it on the show.
What?
Right.
Yeah, of course.
That's funny.
He'll go on morning shows and they'll say have you noticed the effect you're having on America, the John Oliver effect, where you enact things? And he says, oh no, there are people doing way better work than me. My work is negligible.
I loved it when he said,
I know. I loved it when he called himself, he's like, I look like a parrot that works at a bank. And I think that was the most apt self-description that anyone has ever made of themselves ever. That was so wonderful.
He really does not roast anybody on that show more
but
than himself.
Yeah. But yeah, that's funny. Anyway, so I'm glad that we're spending this podcast talking about other media outlets, but no, I'm kidding.
We could talk about literally anything. This is pretty free
I
form.
love it. It's wonderful.
No
because we have
rules.
a very kind of rigid
structure.
Right. Gosh, only rules? There are no rules. Prison rules.
Oh, Prison Rules podcast. Biggest voice wins.
Oi. Yeah, no, this is a pretty cool setup you have down here in this room. It's pretty lit. I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's pretty cool. We just have it in David's office, and it's really funny because I think David, he's my boss. He's the director of formation and outreach and children. It's director of faith formation and outreach and children, youth, and families.
That is a title.
Because those were two separate jobs, director of faith formation and then director of outreach. And then that was another job as director of children, youth, and families. But, the economy's been rough on churches. So, well, I don't know if it's been the economy or other things. But,
people losing faith.
I mean, yeah, that too. You just had to say it,
It's the economy, too. Who can afford faith?
They're right, exactly.
Who can afford to tithe 10% of their income anymore?
So he's the director of director of faith formation and outreach and children, youth, and families. So his office is all of that. There's a cardboard cutout of Beyonce. I got him for his wedding actually, because on
his wedding day, bold move.
No, well, because he's the director of formation, and I'm in the formation, so it's like, okay, ladies, now let's get in formation. Because at the time, there was the director of children, youth, and families, which was all ages. In that position, they decided just to merge it with his after she left. But it was two ladies, and then so it was like, all right, ladies, now let's get anyway. So I didn't buy him a good, actual, real, useful gift. Instead, I got him a Beyonce cutout, and I think that every man needs that in his life, though.
There was one.
When's your birthday, Ian?
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, November, beginning of November.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't be surprised if you get like a Justin Timberlake or Beyonce cut out. Maybe Britney Spears. Yeah.
For one Christmas, I got Jack a giant cardboard TARDIS because he's a Doctor Who fan.
That's nice of you.
Yeah.
That's a good gift.
It smelled heavily like paint when it came here, which died down eventually.
Yeah.
And eventually the
smell like
cardboard
paint.
cutout died down. It started like folding over.
Oh yeah. It just,
gravity was just too much.
It collapsed over time.
Oh, relatable.
Yeah.
Me too.
It was a metaphor for humanity, really.
Right. The crumbling, dwindling spirit of man. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crushed under the like unbearable forces of existential dread.
I really should have just like taken a picture of it from the exact same angle every day from the moment I like unpacked it.
Oh, that'd be
Oh, so
sad.
you
And
could
make
do a
one of those,
time-lapse
those
video.
horrible
Yeah,
time lapse videos.
and then just set it to like something that's not like entirely sad, but just like kind of quietly melancholy, like Claire de Lune.
Oh
And
yeah.
just
Or
watch it slowly collapse.
Oh no. That is, I feel like, inherently sad. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but it's not trying too hard to be sad. It's
But
just
with
like,
the context
Time
of like
makes you colder.
no
children get
landslide,
older.
no landslide.
da 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 all around me.
Ah, familiar faces.
Amazing
My
Grace.
phone's just going crazy.
Oh God.
How sweet the sound. that
Or
saved
I could just go.
a wretch.
I could just go worst song choice possible. Like, girls just want to have fun.
Oh no.
Oh, and if you want Wi-Fi, it's right on the coaster.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Now
cool.
I'm just imagining like
we
a sad.
are young, so we set the world on fire.
Now I'm just imagining like a sad time lapse of anything set to girls just want to have fun.
Girls just want me a year after, like, I don't know, post-op or something.
Oh,
Well, I
wait.
guess that's fine because you're
ca-
recovering.
I just
so
came up
that's
with the
good.
worst one.
What?
The opening scene of Up, set to girls just want to have fun.
Oh no! Oh, sweetie. Well, in the beginning it's fine because they're like in love, and then it kind of devolves.
There's this Facebook page I really like called Jim Will Paint It. He uses MS Paint to fulfill people's wildest demands. So there's one of
Oh
Barbara.
yes, I love this.
There's one of Barbara Streisand. It's raining men, so it's showing naked men falling and bleeding
On
and being
MS
pulverized by the cement.
I'd like to meet this man. I'd like to shake his hand.
He's doing.
You have to
doing
go to
good
the
work.
UK to meet him,
Oh, well,
but
not
he's
that
doing
rich.
some amazing stuff.
Worth it. I don't think It's Raining Men is Barbara Streisand.
No, it's the Weather Girls.
Yeah, it's
right?
the
it
Weather
is?
Girls.
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, their entire thing was singing weather predictions involving men.
But yeah, he did.
Cloudy with
literally,
a
It's
chance
Raining
of
Men.
like men. No, cloudy with a chance of testosterone or something. I don't know.
Something. Yeah, who knows any other Weather
Right.
Girls song other than
Light
It's Raining Men?
precipitation. No, light
60%
perspiration.
chance of anger problems.
Right, 69% chance of anger problems, and you can kind of put an erotic twist on a really sad reality
Sunny
that
with
many
a-
women face every day.
Sunny with a chance of toxic masculinity.
Oh, lots of that. Yeah.
Okay, the last time that I hung out with you and Ian was like we were all at Yesenia's. Another plug on this podcast for Yesenia's in San Diego. And I just remember we were talking about Larry David as an action star.
Was that at Yesenia's?
That was.
That was
I don't remember that, but I remember the Larry David did kind of like, oh, look at that, you shot me, you know?
pretty explosive.
Yeah. You think you're special?
just like surrounded by ninjas, just like pretty bad.
Yeah. I remember we also watched that video that I still bop this song to this day is Praising Coronation I Snoozle by Adriano Solano. Is that song you showed us that it was like made completely out of gibberish, that Italian guy?
Jack showed us.
yes.
So is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, and I still do the dance
it's Prison
move.
Colonensen and Schuzel.
We actually put that in
Praising
an early
Coronation
podcast
I
with
Snoozle.
Giannis
All
Wagner.
right.
Yeah.
I still listen to that all the time.
It's
a
a
great
fucking banger.
It's a banger, honestly. And then I'll like introduce it. People like go through my shuffle or something and be like, what is this? And I'll be like, oh, I'm glad you fucking asked. It's so
I
funny.
love that song.
I love that song too. I'm so glad you showed
the
that
bass
too.
line.
Right.
Ba-da-boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom,
it's
boom,
lit.
boom, boom.
Exactly.
Da-da-da.
Da-da-da.
Ba-ba-da-da,
And then,
ba-da-da.
yes, and then the music video is really funny. And then
There's
it's
two
like,
different music videos.
And I love the woman. Yeah, there's one where they're dancing.
In a also not a snoozle.
Eyes.
In a call name says
a
please and
coronation I snoozle. All right.
They aren't saying all right. They're saying all right.
Yeah, because they can't say all right because that's an actual English word. Yeah.
I don't think they spoke any English.
No. Yeah, I love
but
that.
there's
song.
two different.
Also, the way that man's hips move.
Oh yeah, he
Absolutely
move.
mystifying.
Yeah.
Truly.
But there's the two
Electric.
different. Yeah, there's the two different music videos. Have you seen both of them?
Yeah, there's the one where he's in like the TV show, but he's pretending to be a school teacher, and then the girls are like rubbing his dick.
Yeah, there's like a live studio audience, and it's like super brightly colored.
Right.
And it's like one of them just asks him a question in Italian, and he just like gives up big.
Oh yeah,
okay,
like this. Yeah.
And then the song starts, and he starts like moving his hips
the way that he
and
does.
then the girls start like bobbing up and down, like bobbing
Right,
back
and
and
then
forth,
moving their
and then doing like the wax on, wax off. But the way
Yeah.
the camera lines up, it looks like half the girls are polishing his dick.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not.
And then
the music video does not actually feature them doing that. We're just saying that it looks like that the way it lines up.
Disclaimer. Yeah, it's
It
truly
looks
a
like they're doing the
cinematic
window
masterpiece
washer on
of
his
our
junk.
time. And then there's that other music video where they're dancing,
Yeah,
and that's
the black,
the one where
the
they're
black
dancing
and white
like
one.
this.
Yeah, the black and
But
white
then
one where it's like this
someone-
army of people in like this house of mirrors or
I
something.
know.
In,
And
like,
then whoever
in, like, an
reposted it
airport
on
hangar.
YouTube, like posted those really shitty kind of like
God.
iMovie effects on it with like
Yeah.
the filters, but
Yeah,
it was still good.
They kind of butchered it, but like there used to be the original version on there, and it's awesome.
Oh,
I miss when every YouTube video was sloppily made in Windows Movie Maker with
Oh my
like
God,
the
yes.
crappy 2000s
right, like this
titles.
is Boulevard of Broken Dreams lyric video, and they're
And
just
it's
like
just
really
like a
horrible font.
a
like,
wall of-
green.
Somebody
a wall of blue.
reposting music videos with unregistered hypercam 2 in the
Yes.
top corner.
I always loved the intros to things where it's just the solid blue background with the white drop shadow text.
Yes.
And then the crossfade of like a bigger version of the same text
Yes.
just moving across the screen
Yes.
briefly.
Oh my gosh, bring that back, honestly. I've been getting a
They
lot
should
more
have
into
kept
YouTube
Windows
lately.
Movie Maker the same from 2003 until now. They've like
Right.
updated it for the
well,
current
they should have
times.
kept. They can update it, but they should have kept the old one as well as like a separate
Like
program,
an
like
option.
vintage. You know?
I would assume it doesn't take up that much space these days.
You
Yeah,
could probably
or maybe
find
too
an
much.
archive version online where
I'm
you
sure
could
you
get the
could.
XP version for like Windows 10.
Do you know what I really enjoy is looking up old Disney Channel games online, the archived like Disney Channel
Oh
games.
my
You know,
God.
the old because they obviously changed them. They're not going to have that so
Yeah, of course not.
Raven, Sweet
They
Life Zack,
purged.
you know. I mean, yeah, and so I really love playing those kinds of games. It's so much fun. I was, without asking permission because I'm over the age of 12. So no, I'm 19. You can't control me now, Mom.
I'm playing the Disney games and
Shout
I don't
out
need
to
your
Sylvia.
approval.
Yeah,
I'm 13 in my mind.
right. Oh, that could be a slippery slope.
That's a very different sentence if you're like
if
20,
you're like 40.
If you're like 40 or if you're like 9.
No,
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about like 9-year-old. You're like,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
because you have to
okay.
be 13 to get on websites.
So
that
it's
was
like
always
13.
the thing.
I'm
My thing is
13.
like 24.
I'm 13 as far as you know, as opposed to like I'm 13 as far as you know.
Yeah, exactly. Two
very different
Yeah, that's the
sentences.
thing. I was
Yeah.
like, Ian, like your age talking, or Ian, like 9-year-old talking. My whole thing is because I'm a twin, and so when if there was like an age limit, we'd just look at each other and be like, oh, 6 + 6, that equals 12, or like we just
Combined,
add,
we're old enough. We just have to do it together.
Exactly. That's exactly what we would do. So we'd be, or like at our YMCA, you had to be like 12 to go into the jacuzzi, and we'd be like 7, and we're like, we're 14, and they're like, okay.
Get on
Yeah.
each other's shoulders. That's the only way it
Right,
counts.
get a giant trench coat in the hot tub, but then it might be a little concerning. So, yeah, that was
I
always.
don't know.
fun.
I've seen somebody wear a hoodie into a hot tub before. I don't know what their life was like that led them to that, but
Right, led them to that decision, but we can only pray for them. That's what
But
we'll do.
I
We'll
know
pray.
I know something like that has been done, so why not just go for broke at this point?
Yeah, that's
all,
true.
all bets are off on the human race. We do
Evidently.
Worse
ridiculous
than
nonsense.
any top in jacuzzi is wearing socks
Jeans.
into there.
Oh, and jeans.
Oh yeah, jeans.
I bet someone has done that.
I've swam in jeans before. You know, my swim jeans.
Oh, your swim jeans.
It just happened.
What's your guys' age difference? Because I'm thinking about like if you would ever double your
24.
age.
I'm 23, and he'll turn.
Oh, you guys are like Irish twins.
yeah,
then.
and he'll turn 25 before I turn 24. So
Yeah,
he's-
we're a year and a half apart
yeah,
approximately.
a year and some change.
Right, and a half. That would be the change.
Yeah.
50 cents. Nice. Okay, because I'm like wondering if you guys ever did that when you were kids. I don't know. But yeah,
I'm sure we made that excuse before. Like together we're 23.
right. Age is just a number.
We get a friend and we pretend to be Vince Adult Man.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we
Oh yeah, get on each other's. That's where you use the trench coat.
We
right
got
there.
we got tall pretty quickly. Like so I think just the two of us would be
Yeah.
roughly
Were
adult
you guys
height by
always?
the time we were 10.
How tall are you?
Huh?
How tall are you, Jack?
6'1".
6'1". Okay, have you guys always both been like tall? Like, because for my sister, for example,
I've been 5'9" since I was 14. I didn't really stop growing past that.
Oh, okay, and then you.
And I think I hit 6 feet in like 11th grade.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What a guy! Truly, that's an achievement.
Yeah. And then I got a little taller, and then I stopped.
My twin was always a lot taller than me growing up, like quite a lot taller, and then I caught up pretty abruptly, and then we're now the same height. But it's just very interesting because my whole life it was like the dynamic of you're taller than me, and now it's not. It's very interesting. But yeah, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, Jack and I flipped. I was taller than Jack up until high school, and he exceeded me then.
Kaboom.
Go boom.
And I had a doctor's appointment like 2 years ago. She said, actually, yeah, that's really common where like the younger sibling will become taller. Especially
out
the
of
two
spite.
brothers.
Yeah.
Out of spite, just harbor all of the resentment, and it'll just
Yeah.
make you grow.
It
Yeah,
fuels me.
right. That's funny. Also concerning, but it works. You know, it works.
No,
it's a good look on you.
I burned it all up getting taller.
Oi, that was loud noise. Pepsi. I'm gonna cure racism, guys, like Kendall Jenner.
Oh, you're drinking a Pepsi. That's so brave.
I know.
What
Applaud
a
me.
statement.
I know.
you're-
White girl drinking a Pepsi.
You're joining the conversation.
Oh, I remember that. It was so weird.
Oh my God.
Someone in one of my classes compared the Colin Kaepernick Nike commercial to that. I'm like, that is very different.
It's not the
Apples
same.
and
because it's like a
No.
company exploiting a social cause. I'm like, there was no social cause they were exploiting with Kendall.
Activism sells now. Like, I think it's absurd when people get into like, oh, Lyft is so more woke than Uber. Like, Uber
Like,
is...
no,
No,
both
they're
corporate.
companies.
they're both companies.
They do
have
not care.
They
Yeah.
only claim allegiance to one cause or another because they think it will sell.
Right. This
Oh,
is cool
yeah.
with the kiddos nowadays. These
Yeah.
Black Lives Mattering.
Yeah.
You know. It's
Although
like,
I will say, like, as much as it is like disheartening that like companies are chameleons and they'll always just like pretend to be on whatever side is most marketable, it does at least show that big companies who run the numbers and like look at patterns and try to figure out what the future is going to be are saying that this is the right side of history.
that's true, and
So,
I
yeah,
suppose
yeah.
it's better than stagnation,
Yeah, and
but
it's-
it's still kind of like capitalism.
Yeah, it's disheartening that whatever happens, they will always just adapt and surround it and suffocate
right, and then
it.
everyone else is left behind.
But
yeah.
at least they've come to the conclusion that they aren't marketing to MAGA, they're marketing to Black Lives Matter because
Yeah.
that's going to be the winning ticket.
If
Yeah,
we're staying,
that's true.
If we're staying in capitalism, like I'm kind of in favor of like green
If we're
business taking off because like I'm pessimistic about policies going in to like mandate the extreme actions we need to mitigate climate change. So
climate change,
private
yeah.
industries are going to take it over. Like, yeah, they're going to make a profit
Like,
off of
capitalism's
it.
a thing.
but
yeah.
I mean,
It's better than like
something that I find
I mean,
really.
they're,
Oh, go
they're,
ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's just that like the only issue with green business taking off is that there's legislature that's not only not helping it out, actively kneecapping it.
Yeah. I find particularly interesting when not necessarily green businesses, like businesses that kind of find solutions to climate change, but like, I don't know, Colgate or some random big corporation, Ford, even Toyota, like it's, oh, this is better for the environment, or like we don't use recyclables, or like Panera, it's like we're all about the natural like ingredients. And I just find it so paradoxical because I think capitalism inherently is not green, and so
No.
it's
It's all about consumption.
exactly. So I think just any sort of with green business that's different because it's kind of it's some sort of incentive to and it has to happen, right? Those kinds of solutions.
Yeah, Jack and I have talked about like let's just finance moving everybody out of Arizona and cover it with solar panels.
Yeah, I say it both jokingly and seriously. Let's just not live in Arizona anymore.
I mean, I think the people in Arizona would gladly take you up on that offer. I think, and I don't know, does anyone willingly live in Arizona? Like, with
They're living there because they can afford Arizona.
I've
Right.
known people who moved there and
like
and
are
weren't-
they okay? You want to check
I
up on
mean-
them? Are they? You should call them. You should let them.
There's no
you
good
should let them
reason
know
to
you
live
love
in
them.
Phoenix or Tucson. Flagstaff, there's kind of a case.
I
'cause
like
it's mountainous.
Flagstone.
I mean,
and it snows. Yeah.
I've visited them in Phoenix, and
Why?
because
would
they're
you do
because they're
that?
my friends.
They can
and I
come
love
here.
them. Yeah, but like I made the mistake of driving there
Evidently.
in our dead. First off, I made the mistake of driving there, and secondly, I made the mistake of driving there in our once great Saturn SL. May she
Keyword
rest,
once.
May she
R.I.P.
rest,
Frankie.
May she rest in peace. R.I.P. Frankie.
Right.
But
May we also come to share in your eternal kingdom, Lord.
but the air conditioning was broke. It was super broke, and I knew that before I took
Same.
off for Arizona.
Why? I'm
In
so
June.
glad you've grown. Oh, in June. This was in June. This past June?
No, this was in
okay.
June 2016.
Okay, good. I'm glad
in-
that you've grown since then.
It was in the dead of summer, and the air conditioning did not work, and I was driving to
Thank you,
Arizona.
Lord, and all of your mercies that you're still here, man. Like,
I don't know how I survived. I think
You should have got a cigarette lighter fan or something before that trip.
Yeah, but
Shoulda.
that would have required me to spend money, and as you know, I generally don't do that.
instead, he
sauna
goes to
car.
Phoenix in the dead of summer. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that could have been
Yeah.
a decision you.
But like at a certain point, I had to give up and just like take off my shirt, and then it was like the leather couch situation.
Oh
Where
no.
every like 20 minutes, I would have to like lean forward and just like
Oh no.
like
I
just.
feel like
If you're wondering what kind of sound I'm trying to get across, just
No, I
like
know exactly.
reach into your cupboard and grab a piece of duct tape and just pull.
Oh god.
We've all been there on a hot summer day sitting on a couch.
Not voluntarily.
Yeah,
Not voluntarily, but
I don't
you-
want
you
seat
fall into
warmers
it.
in cars. I want like a seat cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's American innovation there, sir. But yeah, anyway, I just find like any sort of green marketing just complete bullshit. It's like, but you're producing things for consumption
Yeah, but-
at like
yeah.
disproportionate levels. But anyway.
Just when you brought up like the list of brands when you were making that point, when you first said Colgate, I was immediately just thinking like we're still talking about companies that are like latching on to Black Lives Matter. I was thinking like what kind of slogan Colgate could have come up with, and I can only imagine like the
Something
worst
that's, like, white,
the
I
worst
don't know.
possible thing, like teeth are supposed to be white. The world is for all colors. I'm just like,
Oh,
oh
no.
God,
Something
Colgate,
really
stop
cringy.
this.
Or the big one, pink washing when they all do the breast cancer awareness
Right,
thing.
or gay-
There's
or-
no
yeah.
donations at all.
Or gay
Yeah.
capitalism.
Or worse, just
Like
just
rainbow-
donations
Yeah.
to Susan G. Komen, which is a piece of shit charity.
yeah, that's the thing. And it's like the rainbow one is really kind of grinds my gears. It's like these companies like 20 years ago, not even like 15 years ago, could fire someone on the premise of them being
And
gay.
they
That
actively
was-
did all the time.
Yeah.
In some states, still can.
Right, with the Vice Squad and all of that. It's just like, come on, pal. Like, great.
Or
you're
their
sponsoring
factories in
crime.
other countries, workers could still be fired for that.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So it's I'm kind of gonna roll my eyes, but happens. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. This is what a feminist look like. T-shirts are made in sweatshops.
That's the thing. Or like Target
Guy
comes
Fawkes
out.
masks made by Chinese
Oh
kids.
no,
Oh, yeah.
Guy Fawkes masks in
Fight the
general.
power.
Like wow. DIY
I
or
only,
die, man.
I only make my own small batch artisanal Guy Fawkes masks.
Right. Find
Jack
me
and
on Etsy.
Jack and I marched after Ferguson, and like there were a lot of like pseudo anonymous members wearing the Guy Fawkes masks at
Oy.
the protest.
Oh yeah. It was bad.
and like fedoras.
and the one white guy who always wanted to have the mic, and just like,
Oh, dude, this
Dude.
isn't about you.
dude, stop.
That's
Yeah.
some cringe.
And the crazy old burned out white hippie who was talking about murdering cops, two cops'
Oh,
faces.
lit.
Yeah, you're exactly the face we want to put on this
Right,
protest.
branding.
Yeah.
Branding. Speaking of capitalism, branding.
There was like one of the march chants that's like no racist police, and my anarchist friends changed it to no fucking police, and they got critted by some of the black leaders of the protests.
Yeah.
They said no, we gotta stick to no racist police.
Yeah.
We gotta
Because
keep
this
up
is
our
about
image here.
race, and it's about racism, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's about Black Lives Matter, the issue is that they're racist cops. Not that there's cops in
Yeah,
general.
it's about Black Lives Matter. It's not about a cab smash the state.
right. It's
Yeah.
like let's not
And,
co-opt
like,
that kind of.
Marches that big, like people do bring their kids to those.
Yeah.
So
That's-
I don't know
yeah.
about like saying something that extreme, that especially with like language like that, and especially something that's like meant to agitate.
That's
Something
the other thing.
'cause
And
that's like just gonna
Yeah, like the protest wanted to stay on the side of the law, like a peaceful demonstration, and like
Right.
you have so many families there, like you
yeah.
said.
I
There-
think-
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just think that I used to be, I think, a lot more, radical and unapologetic with my opinions. And so with those kinds of things, it's like I might agree with you, but you're kind of, I think, dragging down movements that need to stay on the side of the law, that need to gain credibility. And yeah, it sucks that that's the way that they need to procure credibility. But like I was it was like a DACA march or something, and like a bunch of it was a socialist club at City College was there. It was like a contingent, and they were saying things like, I don't know. They're just saying kind of like that kind of stuff, like kill all cops, and like what was the other stuff they said? Just a bunch of stuff that wasn't somewhat related to things like DACA, and it was very odd, and it was kind of, they were booing. Who were they booing? they were booing a speaker because she was talking about, she said reform ICE, and they were booing her because she didn't say abolish ICE.
Oh,
And-
yeah, that's just picking at hairs.
And it's the thing is like, dude, she's trying to speak, and
It's- yeah.
it's one step at a time, I think.
It's the same thing that pissed me off, like when I was hearing about like the argument by like GOP senators against gun legislation was just like when they hear like, oh, it'll only fix this percentage of gun violence, so we really shouldn't even bother with it. It's like moving in a positive direction,
Right.
like on both sides. I'm just seeing people who are thinking like their thinking is if we're only moving a certain percentage in the right direction,
it's not enough.
then it's not enough, and we just
Right.
shouldn't do it at all.
That's the thing. And on one hand, I really don't necessarily subscribe to respectability. Well, I do at the same time. It's respectability politics where you shouldn't have to bow down to the common, I think, cultural norms, and like you shouldn't say this or you shouldn't. But it's more of, I think, on the terms of effectiveness. Like, hey, pal, what's gonna work?
Yeah.
Because
I kind of hate like amongst like anarchists and communists where they think you have to match their ideology exactly. Like I think we need sort of left unity to create like a meaningful third
exactly,
party.
or that you're
Yeah.
not left enough or not radical enough, and they'll
Yeah.
criticize that.
And like,
yeah.
here's a thing that I've just kind of been thinking about vis-a-vis like that is just like when we're dealing with these really deeply rooted societal issues, there is no one catch-all silver bullet way to fix the problem. It has to be attacked from every possible angle.
But there is a
So,
catch-all way
yeah.
to squander the problem.
Yeah, which is to say, not good enough, I'm out.
Yeah.
So we need movement. We need like large grassroots movements that are like based around like staying within the law, not agitating, like trying to
Right.
play by the rules. And we also, I think we do need people who are taking more radical stances, being more provocative, because that
Right, or
that
like
can
Martin
fuel the
Luther
conversation.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they
broke the law.
Yeah, we need a whole spectrum of action, but like one group trying to turn every other group's activity into their kind of activity,
And then
just
denouncing
ruins-
the other
yeah,
groups for
just
not-
Kind of have
yeah.
to think of it from a PR standpoint at certain times. Like you know what's going to get on the news, so
Yeah.
like you
And it
gotta
sucks-
be ready for that.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we have to play by those rules, but it's, for example, like, even though MLK and stuff, it broke laws like civil ordinances that couldn't march and stuff, he always told them, like, wear suits, wear your best, like, clothes, because we have to show them that we're not just kind of hooligans running around breaking laws. And so even when they felt it necessary to break and impede on those sort of statutes, they understood the importance of, like, PR and presentation, even though it sucks that
and
you have to do
know,
that.
Like
It's-
when a black person is killed by the cops, and then like they dig up the most like trashy photo they
I
can
know.
find of them to like discredit them or say like, oh, they were a criminal, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like a college student and a person who was active in the
Right, but if
community
people
and all
are
that.
showing up in their defense or over here like smashing windows, and it's just like you're kind of letting them win, I think, in a way, and it's not good with that image, because they'll be like, yeah, look, see, they are criminals, and it's like, bruh, what? People are upset about this, and it's valid, but it's just you can't play into those kinds of hands.
Yeah, not every leftist is going to throw a Molotov cocktail into a limousine.
And not every leftist, I can see where another point on the, like, conversely about kind of the white liberal, the white neoliberal, the people that kind of are just like, I'm gonna wear a pussy hat and then I'm gonna like put a minimal amount of effort into certain causes. Like, I can see the deep-rooted criticism of that is 100% valid, but on the other hand, it's like there can't be that kind of contentious, polarizing dialogue that makes it so that they'll never want to meet you halfway, you know?
Yeah. It really, I mean, like, for me at least, it always just comes back down to, like, everybody, especially, like, more radical people, think that there is only one way to attack the problem, and there is no one way, because the problem is fucking huge, and it permeates every part of our society.
Right.
So the only way to beat it is to attack it at every angle.
And I think, like,
Yeah.
when I was kind of more on that radical kind of fringe end of it, I would feel like really kind of criticized for not wanting to punch a Nazi.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pacifist. It just was like my religious beliefs, or for even being religious, right? Because like Marxism, for example, like religion's not a thing, and or Trotsky, and it's just, it's rough because it's like, no, I'm not gonna punch a Nazi, and I felt like I was really deeply criticized for not wanting to use violence.
Yeah, like I'm kind of a pacifist too. I've never gotten in a real fight, only like childhood stuff. Like Jack's gotten in more fights than
And
me.
it sucks.
It's not effective.
I can just testify from personal experience. Fighting sucks. It's like the worst.
I took this peace studies course, and literally, if you mapped out, all forms of resistance, and then violent, like armed insurrection versus peaceful grassroots movement, and you said, what were the goals of those movements? Were they achieved in the short term and the long term? Staggeringly, the armed insurrections were crushed, squandered, lots of people died, and then the grassroots movements were the ones that survived because they're not through force, but they're ideological, that they'll be maintained and steadfast. And it just doesn't work like violence. It just doesn't work. Just straight up.
And like, yeah, if you go like the more peaceful route, you could keep on going at it for years until like you get that change enacted. Like if you go straight to violence, a lot of people are going to be thrown in jail. A lot of people are only going to come out for that one thing, and then like they don't want to come again.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like, sorry, just
No,
like,
you're good.
not only is like the image of your movement destroyed forever, it's like the core, like the entire core of like the main supporters, the main leadership is all either in jail or dead.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I just personally, fundamentally don't believe on a religious, personal, spiritual level that violence has any is not a natural universal truth. It's not natural for humans to kill each other. I don't think humans are inherently violent. I think war is a human invention. That they can actually trace down the invention of war to when we started shifting from nomadic societies to agrarian ones. And I just think what is like a universal truth and what is fundamentally human is like what Gandhi described as satyagraha. It's like speaking, like soul force, like the truth power, kind of these things that in these movements is that humans deserve to be treated with the utmost reverence and respect and equality. And those are the things that will persevere and last, because those are what are natural to humankind. But violence and vengeance and anger, those things aren't natural. Mm-hmm. Gonna get off my soapbox real quick.
What kind of led the way to like how many protests we've had now is like during the Bush years, all the anti-war activists, like they were saying like we need to respect like all these Muslim people. We're going to kill millions there, and we need to stop the wars now.
Yeah. It's I just don't. It's rough. I mean, if everyone realized that we are all inherently worthy and good, I think it would do something. But I just don't believe in violence, and so I felt really criticized for not wanting to hurt someone else and someone else's kid, even no matter how fucked up they might be. And I don't know. It was really kind of disturbing. So I kind of reeled in on that.
You said somebody else's kid, so, like punching somebody's kid came up.
Well, no, but like a Nazi at one point is someone else's child.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. Yeah. And, with like the whole religious thing, I think they're a child of,
Yeah, and you could
God.
convert like Nazis in far right away. That's what Redneck Revolt is doing. Like they're like going to gun ranges, they're going into communities and like telling what their message is, and that like you could own guns and like be in the center or be on the left. You could like you don't have to be like so like against like all these minorities. Like you actually have more in common with them if you're like lower class white and like a gun owner.
Yeah. Right. Right. Classism. And I just think speaking the truth in power and what you just said, like we're more alike than we're different and stuff like that I think is extremely important. And the most important, I think, for me personally is just relationships.
I mean, just going back to what you said about how violence isn't a natural thing. It isn't a natural part of humanity. Like every member of the alt-right, every neo-Nazi, whatever, you can trace it back. You can trace their like process of becoming that back to like maybe it was when they were a child and born into a family that already believed this, or maybe they were a teenager who was like vulnerable and feeling isolated and alone, and somebody just pounced on that and tried to turn that into hate. And just like at any point you can find that exact root of where all of this came from. And before that they weren't a neo-Nazi. They weren't in the alt-right.
They were a kid.
They were just a kid until that
of to
point.
be born to two parents.
Until that point where they branched off and became that. So there's there's a way to work backwards
And that's
from that.
applicable to
Yeah.
Nazis. That's applicable to murderers. That's applicable to like any wonderful, amazing thing a human has done, like climbing Mount Everest and, you know, finding the cure for cancer and stuff, and all the horrible things anyone has ever done.
There's this one guy. He was like neo-Nazi for years, Christian something.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
from New York. That guy, the punk guy.
Yeah. He came away from it, and now he's an activist to like try to get people out. And he was saying like his story was when he was in high school, he was in a low-income area, and he got robbed by people of color multiple times, and that like kind of pushed him towards that direction too. So that's probably a common
And that threatened his
experience.
safety, and that's like a human psychological threat. It's like, I am not safe. I'm not, and then he just made that connection. It's
And
I'm
then he
not
just-
safe
and
because
then
of
he
this.
just loses it and goes further down the rabbit hole.
And he was
Exactly.
thinking-
and he was probably traumatized by those experiences. And then when he starts,
is valid.
starts getting, yeah, of course. And then when he starts getting in the company of people who are already indoctrinated as like neo-Nazis and stuff like that, he opens up about those traumatic experiences, and then they say, "Oh, yeah, this is why that happened."
And it's an
then they just
explanation for his suffering.
And then they plug,
yeah.
and then they plug the hate into his head, and then Bing Bong,
Without realizing it's a lot more nuanced than that. Yeah.
it just but it just connects A to B in a very convenient way.
Yeah, exactly, convenient
that
way.
like makes those feelings feel more within his control, which is exactly what any like
When you're not safe, you need control.
what any like insecure, isolated kid wants is for like validation from a community, and they want
Stability.
and they want stability, and they want to know that they're in control, and those are all
That's what
things-
everyone wants,
Yeah.
not just kids. Yeah.
And those are all things that like these hate groups have weaponized and like learned to use and give these kids in just the right way to convince them to join.
in many
they
different
actively
fronts,
target
from gangs
teenagers
to
'cause
yeah.
they're stupid.
Exactly. I just think, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh, he's a like Buddhist monk. He has this really good book called The Miracle of Mindfulness, and in it he talks about the connectedness of people, and he uses this interesting kind of analogy, or I guess, of a table, right? So you look at this table here, and you ask the table, you know, if it was sentient, like, well, what made you? And they would say, there's a lot of different, I think, responses to that. You could say, oh, this wood and this nail. Okay, well, if you just trace, I think, everything back, it's the interrelatedness of us all is so inextricable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it's, oh, this wood that grew in this forest and these nails. And then, okay, well, what about the carpenter? And what made him want to be a carpenter? Why did he go to that forest? And why, you know, it's...
And we're all like mostly water, and we all like breathe in oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide.
I just think of all the close calls. You know, you ever hear those stories about things like the Holocaust? You know, all those close calls of things that have made life and death. You know, where it's like, oh, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be alive. Or then he died. It's
or like near-death experiences changing people because they think they see like heaven or hell.
right.
Yeah.
And I just think that most of the people that I think have impacted me the most, both positively and negatively, have no idea that they did that, or they're like strangers.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, if you think about any like small mundane thing in like a full view, like macro perspective,
Right, you
then
can't
you'll-
even do that. It's so
then you'll-
macro, you know.
Yeah, it's so you'll realize just
Transcend
how
it.
interconnected everything is, and like this fucking cool little green cup that I drink out of, you could, if you really just stopped and
Like, what were the hands that
really
made that, you know?
really analyze every aspect of like every factor that went into this becoming a cup. It could go back to all the way to the beginning of time, and you just probably
Right.
you could spend your entire life just pondering this cup that I drink out of, and probably will drop at some point in the near future and destroy.
And in Buddhism, they call it, I think it's 5 aggregates of being, where it's like what makes you isn't just your body, because obviously, you know, that could not have life, but it's your perceptions, your emotions, your physical form, your memories, stuff like that. Where if you think about, okay, some deep-rooted belief you have, well, why do you have that belief? Oh, because of this. Okay, you know, if you really kind of dig it further, it's all connected.
You could abstract it all or get like even more specific with it. And like the perspective of your life will be different than the perspective other people have of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
And-
small things will matter so much to you, and like the big problems won't matter, but like other people will think like, whoa, those are some big problems.
Right. And I just think of like I had said, the cause and effect. And I think because of that, I feel it's kind of an odd sense of responsibility, both for kind of like, it's kind of huge, but all the love in the world that is made and all the death in the world that is made, it's kind of weird. But I feel like because everything is so connected, that I, from one extent to another, am responsible for everything.
Yeah.
Because for example, you know, I have this phone. Well, who made this phone? Did like Chinese kids make this phone? Who is responsible for this phone? The ideas behind this phone.
And the rare minerals in these that we're going to run out of.
Exactly, you know, but I also use this phone to tell my grandmother I love her, to like, you know, communicate with people, to support people. So it's to a certain extent, even the smallest way, I feel very much connected to, and I just try to make more life than I do death every day. I think that's a pretty decent goal. But because I feel like kind of this profound sense of responsibility about how my actions affect everything.
And with this branch of conversation that we're in now, I'm reminded, like, I haven't thought about this in years, so I'm kind of fuzzy on it, but like, I'm reminded of a comic that I read a long time ago. I don't even remember what it was, but there was just this scene that really struck me of like the main character is at kind of a crossroads in his life. He's kind of like at his lowest. He's just in a soup kitchen somewhere. And it's a science fiction story, so it's on another planet in the future and so on and so forth. But like, he's just at a soup kitchen, sitting alone. He has no friends or anything. He has no money. He has no way of getting home. And he's just like looking at this bowl of broth in front of him. And if he thinks about like, all right, the broth keeps me alive. And like thinks about everybody who went into making the broth. And he thinks about the bowl. It's like, all right, the broth supports me. The bowl supports the broth. And then the table supports the bowl. And then he thinks about the floor that somebody, like the table that somebody made, the floor that somebody had to make that supports the table, the ground underneath, and then like all the layers of the planet that like hold the whole thing together. And then he thinks
supports him.
And then he goes all the way out into like the universe supporting the planet, and like the sun, like that the planet rotates around supports the planet and keeps it stable. And then he goes all the way out into the universe, and then he comes back to himself, and he's just like, huh.
That's how it be though.
All of that supports me. And then he's just like, all right, am I the end of this chain of things supporting each other, or am I just another part of it?
Yeah.
That's what I like about like woodworking over like making music or like other intangible things is like you're actually like taking the wood and like making something for yourself, and you appreciate like all the other stuff around you, like the tables and cabinets and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
because you know how much work goes into that on your own. Of course, like these mass-produced stuff, so that they're made in like factories, but like it started out with just like a guy in a shop or a
human
woman in a
hands
shop
and like
making,
passion.
something.
And even the things made in factories, well, it's like someone designed the prototype, someone,
and
you know.
It's still at some point in the stage, it is a person's labor, and like, this is like just
who made the machines.
Yeah, this is just the entire part of the podcast where I'm reminded of comics that I read. This one I actually remember.
This segment.
This one I actually remember which one it was. It was Superman, American Alien, which is a great comic that I recommend. It's like just kind of this different perspective on Superman's like coming of age. It's like 6 different issues from different stages in his life. And it's like, okay, it was written by Max Landis, who turned out to be a total skis, but I think like I think the work in it is still good. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But like, it's when Superman is like young and he's going through, you know, changes, and he's like grappling with his own identity, and kind of rages out and like looking at a mirror, and he just kind of loses his temper and punches a hole through the bathroom wall and destroys it. And then afterwards he's talking to his dad, and his dad's like, hey dude, you seriously can't do that. Like, you can't fly off the handle and just punch stuff. That's not how people solve their problems. It especially can't be how you solve your problems, because when you do that, shit blows up. And then he's just
fair. And
then he's just saying like he has this epiphany, like he's 9 years old at this point, but he's just saying like he punched a mirror and he punched a wall, and he's thinking like somebody had to put that wall together. Somebody had to lay the mortar and lay the bricks to make that wall. Somebody else had to make those bricks. Somebody had to make that mirror and package it and put it in a factory. Somebody else had to buy it and like put it up on the wall.
Right.
And when he destroys that stuff, he isn't just destroying things, he's also destroying everything that somebody else put into making those things.
I also think about that, like that's such a good example. Like I think of that as far as people, because like I had a friend that was having a lot of anxiety about, you know, going out to this one like show because she knew this girl that was there wouldn't like her, but she didn't know if the girl didn't like her. She thought she was being paranoid. But then, and so I had worked with her for so long to be like, no, it's okay. Like, you got this. Let's go, to try to kind of go past her fears. And I had spent so much time trying to tell my friend, like, you'll be okay. And then this girl rips her to shreds. Mm-hmm. you know, and it's like you just destroyed. And I feel like how we build up a lot and how people work hard on their emotions to be who they are and to be in a place of emotional stability, how to unlearn things. And then people with words,
easy.
you can just tear it down in a second.
And it comes back to the same conclusion that that what I was talking about found is just like, when you destroy something, you aren't just destroying the thing, you're also destroying like the time, the energy, the passion that somebody put into it. So in a way,
craftsmanship,
in a way, you're kind of killing a small part of a person every time you destroy something. So just destroy less shit, basically.
Right.
On the show story, I went to a show. Actually, the band I'm wearing a shirt of now, they needed to borrow my guitar amp, and they ended up staying here. Anyways, like at that show, I saw two people who had a problem with me, and like I thought it may turn into a fight, but like it was just like awkward stares the whole time.
Yeah.
No words exchanged.
I don't know if the noise scene is known for its all out bare knuckle brawls.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's the one.
People
That's not what they're known
and
for.
people are pretty non-confrontational too. Like they'll say like the
Just
worst shit online,
passive-aggressive.
but like in person they won't say anything.
They're just passive
In
aggressive.
general, human beings are not as confrontational as we think we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
We all think we're total badasses who could tell anybody off, but no.
Oh, I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get beat up because I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hit you back. So, oof, can't put myself in that situation.
Yeah, I like how John Mulaney said it, like when he was talking about daydreaming. It's like your brain is playing movies filled with arguments that you win, and it's just like, yeah, that's how it plays out in your head. But then as soon as you get the chance to like actually tell somebody off that way, the words don't come, and it does not
it's
happen
so
that way.
bad.
And so none of us are as confrontational as we think we are,
No.
or as we think others are. Like
That's the
Yeah.
thing. I think people oftentimes think that everyone's always judging them, but I always think, because especially with like my middle schoolers, you know, I'm a youth minister, and I'm not that far off in age from them, which is pretty funny whenever they're like, you listen to Kendrick Lamar? I'm like, yeah,
I'm hip to the
I
youth.
do. I like, and then
I
I'm
was
like,
your age when his last
I know.
album
I
came
listen to
out.
Little Pump and Playboy
Right.
Cardi. I know all your artists.
well, and then I look to them and they're like 12. I'm like, you listen to Kendrick Lamar? Like, I'm gonna tell your mother. No, I'm kidding.
How old were you when his
That's
last album
profanity.
came out?
Right. That's the other thing. But they always think that everyone's always judging them and thinking horribly about them. I'm like, girl, no, you're in middle school. Everyone's just thinking the same thing but about themselves. They're not focused on you.
Which comes back to what we established on Sarah's episode of the podcast, which is, hey, if you're worried about something that's going on and you're in middle school, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't exist.
It
You
really
are
does not
wrong.
matter. You think it's the end of the world? It's not.
Middle school teachers will tell you this is going to follow you. For high school and college, it will not. And
It
high school
won't.
doesn't matter either.
They're lying. It
High school
didn't
doesn't
follow
matter
them.
either, yeah. That's what I tell them. And then their parents are kind of like, wait, you're not supposed to tell them their grades don't matter. But I'm like, your grades don't matter. But yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to lie to them.
Yeah, I'm like, no, try so hard.
Try so hard, and in the end,
I
it
believe
doesn't
you
even
can
matter.
succeed. In
to
the end,
fall.
oh my god,
It
I
doesn't
hate
even matter.
it. Too soon. No.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
A moment of silence. Well, this has been really fun.
It has. Yeah.
Having a good time.
We're over an hour in.
Is that what's your usual? I think length. I've been
An
listening
hour and a half to 2.5 hours. We have 1 3-hour
Wow.
episode. We go longer than you guys.
Evidently, we go 20 minutes. So
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's faith.
We have, like, 2 hours of recording,
Well, I mean,
but-
it's faith to go with a name like that. It shouldn't be a 2-hour podcast.
right, you
Yeah,
gotta
like,
go.
gotta be-
It's got to be convenient, portable, like a
Our
religious
logo,
Go-Gurt.
our logo is like a takeout box. So
It's like a little religious Go-Gurt.
that I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have like 10 to 20 topics per episode, so we can
I
keep
love
on
it.
going.
I love
Just
it.
whatever comes to mind.
I have a lot of things that do that. Yeah.
10 to 12. I think, oddly enough, the last episode was probably like one
2
of the
topics.
There were like I
Oh.
think there were 3 topics.
Yeah.
But they were profound.
There was giant factory farmed insects.
Less profound than I had thought. Okay.
It gets pretty profound.
Oh.
And then there was the nature of memes and how it reflects on the human condition
Existential.
and the evolution of ideas.
Yeah, our last guest, they give lectures at Palomar College sometimes, so the next one is called Memes in Society Today.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a person. Wow.
Which
That's great.
honestly, like the way they laid it out, it's pretty intense
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's a lot to dive into, especially
it
after
was
like
the funniest.
memes in our society. Memes have literally hijacked our society.
I
and
feel
got
like
a-
that in
memes
and
along
of
that
itself
precedent.
is a meme. Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
I
Russian memes.
we had like a movie night. We're watching like Moana or whatever
Mm-hmm.
in the church. It was really cool, and it was intergenerational. So there were some older folks and some my teenagers, and there's this guy Lewis, and we all had name tags on. And there's this lady, Carolyn, sweetest lady. You know, she's your classic, you know, church lady, like on SNL, but not judgmental. Just super sweet, super amazing.
special.
Shout out to Carolyn. Carolyn Leaf. But anyway, so this kid, he instead, and she knows his name's Lewis, but he wrote like dank memes for life or something. And I had to try to explain to her in the most delicate way possible with him right there. I'm like, you wanna explain to Carolyn what what those dank memes are?
And he's just like, no, you got it.
Yeah, he was like, nah. He was looking all bashful. I'm like, don't put it on the name tag if you don't want people to ask you about it. And then so I explained to her, and then
Meme smelt steel beams.
I know. I didn't go that far. But then she was like, and then we explained stale memes. And so then she was like, oh, it's like a stale meme. It was at once a dank meme. And then she's like, you should do a forum on memes. I'm like, how about that, Lewis? Our forums are like, we have weekly speaker topics.
And then there's shit posting.
I know. I'm like, how about that, Lewis? Why don't we do a forum on memes? And he was just dying. My favorite thing with that kid was when one of my favorite websites is Bible Hub. And they have really great interlinear, like Greek and Strong's 100 Greek translations, Hebrew translations, great commentary. I love Bible Hub. And I had said that in youth group, and he starts snickering with his friends so loudly. And I know he thinks it's because it's like Pornhub. But I don't think he thinks that I know what Pornhub is. And so he's like laughing.
I mean, porn's in the name. What did you think you were going to think?
Well, no, he didn't say Pornhub, but he's laughing so hard when I said Bible Hub. And so I could kind of like deduce, like he's kind of like, and I'm like,
God.
And so I looked at him like straight up. I'm like, you want me to tell everyone why you're laughing? And he just froze.
That boy saw the future and he was not in it.
I know. He was just like, because he knew exactly that I knew what he was thinking about.
Jack and I went to Lutheran elementary and middle school, as I've told you before.
Lit.
Our sex ed was like all abstinence, like don't
in elementary
jerk
school
off,
you had
all that.
sex ed?
Well, it was elementary
No.
and middle school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it went from
once we got into middle school,
K-3,
sex ed
okay.
was abstinence only.
Yeah.
Oi, that
Yeah.
works.
Which is why I'm glad that I went to high tech as of 7th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got mostly just normal sex ed.
Well, I missed high school sex ed, but don't worry, I caught up. I figured it out. Don't worry, everyone, I'm fine. But at
Sadly,
high tech,
Jack and I learned more from South Park.
Which is just
I
tragic.
feel like that's the worst way to learn about
that's the
sex.
worst
I think
of
that's
the
worse.
worst
I feel
way
like
to
that's
learn,
worse
but that
than
we
porn,
did.
Hey,
honestly.
speak for yourself. I actually paid attention in sex ed once we got to high tech.
But I feel like sex ed doesn't teach you like how to have sex.
But
It's
once
not
you're
great,
in high
no.
school, you already know like most of it.
Yeah,
That's
which
true.
is
I don't know.
and you got it from the worst places.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I just distinctly remember one part.
I've always been a head-on learner. Whereas,
Yeah.
I mean, no pun intended.
I
all right.
Head on, apply directly to the forehead.
I just
Right.
distinctly remember
Oi.
one part of sex ed when I was in 7th grade, which is like the way that school was laid out was like there's like the 7th grade area and it's like 4 classrooms, 2 on each side, and then like a common room in the middle. Mm-hmm. And there's windows facing out so that the rooms can kind of like see into each other. And
Oi.
all 4 rooms are doing sex ed with like 25 to 30 kids apiece.
And are the boys and girls together?
I think they were together for most of it. They still did the bullshit where they like took the girls out for one part. And
Yeah,
it's
like your period. Yeah.
It's like, why shouldn't the guys learn about it too?
they should.
Because
Yeah.
then they grow up into fuckboys who are like, tampons.
Yeah, that's
But like, I just remember the image of like the 2 windows facing each other. I'm in one classroom and they're doing like the condom demonstration.
Oh no! But,
And
you
so
can't-
like,
but it's like
they're,
silent.
They're rolling the condom onto like he just had a
like a
dowel,
dildo? Oh, the
a wooden
dowel.
dowel.
Oh,
He
no,
didn't bring
sweetie.
a dildo in, and he just rolls it on, and it's like perfectly cylindrical with like a sharp cut off at the end, so it doesn't
Oh,
fit
no.
quite right. And then we look across,
There's, like,
and,
the deposit.
we just see the teacher who's facing the class look out the window, and he just kind of freezes for a second, and then we all turn around and look out the window, and in the opposite class, the other English teacher had a banana with a condom on it,
And then they're, like, making
they're
eye
just staring at each other, just like all around me are familiar
That's such a funny
faces,
image. Oh my gosh!
worn
And in that
out
moment, Dave
places,
wondered about all the decisions
worn
that had led
out
up to that one in his life.
faces.
At age
One of their
shapes-
names was Dave.
It's not. Oh, ha!
At HCHI, like they did the sexual health class way too late. Like
No, they
second
did, like-
semester of junior year when like half of the students had already had sex.
So I was a freshman at High Tech High Media Arts, and then I transferred to kind of a more local school because I live in Rancho Paine, Mosquitoes. I was taking the bus, not the best commute. So I went to my local high school, Westview High School, and Westview, they did their sex ed their freshman year, and then High Tech did theirs in like junior year. So when I hadn't done mine my freshman year, and so I missed out on sex ed, because when I had transferred schools, I hadn't done it at all because they had already done theirs freshman year. So I just had to make up the PE credits, but no education for me. But the
internet is a wonderful place full of many things.
Honestly, right? Like I said, I'm a very tactile learner. I caught on. But whatchamacallit? My twin Anna, we went to different high schools. Just right off the bat, she went to E3.
My twin.
I call her my twin. Her name's Anna, but I just say my twin because she's different. She's not just Anna. She's my twin. But we went to different high schools. Just right off the bat, she went to E3 Civic High, that one in the library, and they never had sex ed because they're a charter school. So I don't think they were required to do it. Public schools are, but they weren't. And their director was kind of like prudish and didn't think it was like a good idea. And so she had written like an editorial, and I think it was like in the San Diego Reader or something, maybe the Union Tribune, about the need to have sex ed in schools. But then I guess it might have been actually the Union Tribune commenting on that article. So it might have not been submitted directly to it, but it says, high school student says, "Can we have sex ed, please?" And then it was just really like a funny title. And she's like, I don't... The way they framed it just made it seem like she was this high school student that's just like, teach me about sex.
Can I has sex ed?
Yeah, instead
this is around that time period of meme culture.
Right. Yeah, no. And she's like, no, I just think sex education is important for all students. But the way they had framed it is just like, Anna Little-Saña wants to know about sex. Why isn't anyone telling her about this? It was just really funny.
What is sex?
Right. Can I has? Yeah, that's funny.
Can I has comprehensive sex education?
Nope.
Oh, Christ.
You said it. Yeah.
That is on the record now as a thing that has come out of my mouth.
Can I has comprehensive sex education?
At HTHI in one of the multimedia classes, I turned in a project that was just pictures of our cat turned into little cats.
Why would you do that?
It was remix and meme project.
Your mother
so
must
most
be
people just
so
made
proud.
memes.
Do you still have those pictures?
Yeah, on my old netbook probably.
Because
wow.
honestly, I just feel like we don't have enough pictures of our cat.
Yeah, I'll look him up. I miss Shelby.
And then just crop out
miss her.
the meme part.
Just remove the memes.
Right. Come on. Yeah.
Got to form an airtight seal. Yeah. But dude,
That's where the sex ed comes in.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But like you said, it really is like almost a parody of a giant water bottle. It's so huge.
Big.
And like you're right, I know like REI people, like people who practically live in an REI, and they always carry around just this ridiculously gigantic water bottle, and that one blows them out of the water.
Yeah, well, okay, so you know how they say don't go into a grocery store if you're hungry?
True.
I was really thirsty, and there wasn't any grocery stores where I could get water, and so I went into a Ross, and they had bottled water, and then I bought this to prevent that situation.
So you bought that and a 30 case of bottled waters and just put all of them in there.
Honestly, yeah, it's huge. I love it though. Yeah. It's a bit cumbersome for sure, and it has like a
bit, yeah.
And people are like, it doesn't get really heavy. The answer is yes, but then that motivates you to drink the water, and you don't have to carry it around.
And then it doubles as a means of self-defense.
That too. Yeah. Yes, ladies, get yourself a Mana water bottle because then
50 milliliters,
weird
no
guy,
less.
I know. Weird guy comes up to you in a parking lot, you're covered, you know?
I bring my Nalgene bottle nearly everywhere. When I would go on tour and we would stop at gas stations and whatnot, I would do like mostly water and then a tiny bit of lemonade.
Ooh, we got a rebel. Damn, he's
rouser.
dangerous, ladies. You know,
you were doing LaCroix before LaCroix.
I know.
Hint of lemon.
Literally, yeah. I bring
Suggestion
this
of fruit.
Because think of this.
Hint of a
This is
hint
what
of a
I
hint of
have with
lemon.
me here. This is what I have. My cell phone, which my cell phone has like my cards and stuff,
That's
and then
got one of
my
those cool,
sunglasses
like, wallet
on my
sleeves.
head. Yeah, exactly. And my water bottle and some Diet Pepsi. But like, this is all your girl needs. Like, honestly, right here.
Basic tools of survival.
Truly. Absolutely. And also it carries hot water too. Huh. And it doesn't like burn your hand or anything.
Oh,
it's like a thermos.
It's insulated?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it has manna, which is like the bread from the wilderness of the Israelites.
We have a good thermos for ski trips. Like, we'll put coffee in that and it'll still be hot hours later.
I recommend this. I have already dropped it multiple times, as you can kind of see a little bit with like here.
It's battle worn.
You should have seen my other water bottle, my smaller one. That one's only 40 ounces. No, it's 25. Sorry. and I always drop everything. And so these water, and my phone is evidence of that and everything. But
Yeah.
when this drops, it is terrifyingly
ground.
loud. Absolutely. And like on the bus, I'm the person that everyone hates the most. But I have a very large backpack, so it fits in the little water bottle thing for my backpack.
Only
because
just.
I know my friend made a Maya starter pack, and it was Maya and her big ass backpack. And of course, to kind of appease my big ass backpack, I need to have my big ass water bottle. So I'm like a bag of lady because I take the bus everywhere, you know. So I don't have a trunk to throw random shit in. I have to have it in my backpack.
Yeah. Last summer, I was working as a camp counselor at a summer camp up in Julian, and by like week 3, there was just like a graveyard of destroyed water bottles. Like, kids destroyed them like it was going out of style.
Like metal ones?
And honestly, it was probably a meme, so it probably was going out of style. But like mostly plastic ones. Like kids would come with their water bottle, and then like there was this one kid.
Is there bottle flipping?
There was bottle flipping, but I don't think that contributed to most of the broken bottles. I think most of them were just accidents. But like a lot of them were attributed to this one kid who I feel bad for, because he was 10 and he was very small, and it's that age where you still just don't know how to pilot your body at all. It's just
I can't relate.
It's just noodle limbs and fingers that don't work. And so he comes with a water bottle, and I cannot stress how small this child is for a 10-year-old, and he just day one just like running up to the bleachers for campfire and just drops it.
Oh no.
Shatters. Just splits open
That's why
down the side.
I don't ever have plastic water bottles. So that, like, was it Nalgene one? I could never have Ian's water bottle because it's plastic and I would break it.
And then it's the summer in the mountains. We're doing hikes and shit, so we have to. The kids have to have water bottles to stay hydrated. So thankfully, my boss has like an office full of water bottles to give to kids, and so he's loaning him one, and then like a couple hours later, he breaks that one. He went through I believe 7 or 8 of them in 1 week.
Poor baby.
I felt so bad for him, because by the end,
like, he was like apologetic.
The first couple he got like genuinely upset, and then by like number 4 or 5 he was just like,
yeah.
Oh
no.
Just like this defeated sigh of a much older man.
Like
just
a resigned kind of.
Just resigned, like, this again.
Oh no.
Like
of a much larger stature and many years more.
Like a much more defeated, much older person sounds when they wake up. Just like, this again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You have that to look forward to, pal. That's later.
But then there was this other kid who I don't feel as bad for. This was the last week at camp. We were getting ready to just close up and go back to being adults where we could swear and stuff without a room full of kids going, ooh, and we're being like, dang it.
Diddly darn diddly.
Yeah, and then you slip once and everybody's like, ooh.
I feel that.
That means I can say it too.
Yeah, one time I said that you could say any word that's in the Bible, and this kid's like, all right, you whore. And I was like, oh my God.
Read it. He had that loaded.
He was ready for that.
I think that
was a springboard.
I think every youth group has that kid.
Yeah,
but,
I liked in 6th and 7th grade, like 6th grade teacher I caught saying shit under her breath. And then 7th grade teacher was my basketball and volleyball coach.
Yeah.
And he had like one day where he was angry at how lazy we were being. So he like started going on a cursing rant.
He did that to us too when he threw a volleyball.
The same guy?
And he threw a volleyball at the wall. I think it was the same guy.
Yeah.
Bleep the name.
Bleep that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but my kids caught me more than once because it just happens.
Sorry, you were talking about the kid you don't feel sorry for. I interrupted you.
And he was... No, it's fine. We go off on tangents all the time. All that matters is that we loop back at least 75% of the time. But like...
95%
yeah,
accuracy.
he brought his own water bottle. It was last week at camp. We were getting ready to, get rid of all these kids and just be done with it. And like, because after a while, you just get burnt. It's long days supervising kids who don't want to be supervised.
A lot of stimuli.
In nature, the thing that's just the best in the world at killing kids. So don't fuck around.
I feel
yeah. Yeah. And so like he has his plastic water bottle, and the entire week. Actually, he's there for 2 weeks. He's there for the last 2 weeks at camp with his sister. Yeah. And the entire 2 weeks, I have him in my cabin, and he's just playing Little Drummer Boy on every surface with his water bottle, like ba 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 ba.
Like in Camp Rock, you ever see Camp Rock?
But I understand the reference without having seen it. I feel like I've absorbed it through Disney Kid osmosis. I get the gist.
You see one, you see them all.
Yeah. But like he would just like and like not just light taps. He was going hard, just like hard, fast, rhythmic pounding on any surface that he could with his water bottle. And then like every time he did that, I was like, "Dude, stop doing that. You're gonna break your bottle." And he would be like, "Oh, okay." and then I turn around, and I just hear pop, 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 pop. Dude,
We've got
Cut
the
it out.
beat. We've got the
beat, we got
You should have
the
just
beat.
played along with it so
Yeah,
much
we
that
got
it would
the
have been
beat.
so played out and he would have hated it. And so he
I
would've-
probably should have just leaned into it and made it a lame adult
right,
thing.
like, yeah, bruh.
But I was just
I
trying
got
to...
the air guitar.
At that point, we were all burnt, and we were just trying to keep kids from doing the stupid things kids do. Like at one point, I was so
Don't
burnt.
jump off of that.
Like kids, like there were these 3 kids who were like putting ketchup on one kid, and like it wasn't bullying. Like he was into it. Like they were all
He was into it.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was. I believe it was his idea. Like
Oh, no.
they were on board with it.
Hey guys,
And I was- it
you
was-
should put ketchup on
It
me.
was like 8 a.m. I had
If you want.
I had been supervising kids who would not stay asleep all through the night, so I hadn't slept.
relatable.
And so I was just so burnt, and I was just like, I just look over and I see them. I'm like, hey guys, you know the thing you're doing? Don't.
do- Yeah.
Like that's all I did. That's the entire amount of
Yeah.
effort that I put into that. I was like, the thing you're doing, just don't.
I want to know that kid. The kid
Yeah.
that's like, hey guys, you should if you're into it, you should totally put some ketchup on me.
Oh yeah.
Right
After
here.
after this,
You
I'll tell you
wanna-
about the gravy eating contest.
Right. The grave eating or gravy?
Gravy. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gravy.
But anyway, yeah. So
Sounds
at this
like a noise band.
at this point, I don't have the mental energy to like put real effort into like playing mind games
Hey.
with these kids to get them to stop doing things. I'm just telling them to
Stop.
stop, and it's not working because I'm just so goddamn
They
tired.
don't respect your authority. They,
They
don't
do-
respect you as a human.
They don't. They don't see
see.
me as a human at all.
Kids are
Because they're not
monsters.
human. Yeah,
But
exactly.
anyway,
You
this-
heard it here first, folks.
I get the last laugh because the very last day of camp, everybody's waiting for their parents to come and pick them up, and like everybody's like down in the lodge, and we're just like supervising all these kids, and like I take him up with a couple other kids to like go and refill their water bottles at the big cooler up the hill, and so like the first 2 kids go, and then I'm like, all right, go back to the lodge, and then he goes and he fills it about halfway up, and it just starts raining out of his water bottle.
Because
Just-
it was cracked.
it was crap, and he just looks at it like, oh, and he's like, what happened? I'm like, dude,
You were
Is-
banging with it.
is this your first experience with consequences? Oh, I'm so happy for you.
you.
This is going to be a fun new chapter in
Right.
your life called The Rest of It.
Cause meet effect. Or effect meet cause.
Yeah, but he was just so stunned and baffled by this
Oh my
happening.
gosh, my actions have come. That
And
is
I,
funny.
it was so satisfying for me. Anytime that I was like, okay, this kid clearly did not understand consequences until this moment, which happened. I got like 3 or 4 of those throughout my camp counselor career, and it was priceless.
As a kid, your parents like
relevant.
kind of protect you from certain consequences. Some parents more than others.
Right.
Oh, dude.
So like some kids don't face consequences until they're like in high school.
Yeah.
And then those are the ones that are in prison now.
And
but
yeah, and all the credit in the world to our mother. Like whenever there were like at school, there were like accusations flying around about like we don't know who did it, but some kid did this bad thing, and like every other mom would like clutch their pearls and be like, oh, "Not my special boy," and then she'd just look at us and be like, "Did you do it?"
Yeah, she was pretty real with
yeah,
us.
yeah. And so like,
out to your mom.
and so like,
have I met your mom? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think.
Oh
think
no, I
briefly,
did.
yeah.
I think I did like a year ago.
yeah. But like, yeah, whether or not she actually believed we did it, she just always gave us the knowledge that
She always knew that we were
Yeah,
capable
she-
of it.
she-
That you were
yeah.
within
Yeah.
suspicion.
Even if
reasonable
she
doubt,
knew beyond a reasonable doubt that we didn't do it, she would just let us know that she was willing to believe
this,
that we
like-
did. Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Just letting us know that she was willing to believe we did it, even if she knew that we didn't, just to keep us on our toes.
Ooh, I like
That is some next level parenting mind games, and
Evidently.
I've like started working that into my playbook. It takes practice. It
Oh,
takes
I thought you were
practice.
saying I've started working into that in therapy.
No.
I've started to cover that.
I'm saying I'm giving her props because that is the right move, and I think
Oh,
as far as that goes, we turned out okay.
I
Yeah,
think so.
we were
I
raised
think you guys
pretty
are
well.
great. Yeah.
Like they didn't neglect us. They weren't helicopter parents. They were in the middle, like where you need to be as a parent.
Yeah.
I think you guys are great. So
Yeah.
I would commend your parents on that. So
They taught us so many skills too. Like we knew how to use tools by the time we were 7.
Yeah, and I think
Oh, wow.
I think we both had the experience, like separately, we both had the experience of being at a party when there's a blackout, and we both just say, "Yeah, let's check the circuit breaker," and they're like, "Check the what?"
oh
Oh,
All right.
you weren't taught this. Okay.
All right, guys, come on, I'm going to teach you a thing. Who's got a flashlight on their phone? Because
Right.
mine doesn't. Let's go.
right, that's funny.
And it's like, da 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 da. I'm a wizard.
You're right.
Yeah, I was
Now
like,
everyone be my friend.
And
actually-
don't microwave while you're using the stove.
I actually was upset when like I was a volunteer at Che Cafe and like one of the lead volunteers was saying, "Oh yeah, our breaker panel, it's from the 1930s. We need to replace that for the renovations." And people were asking, "What's a breaker panel?"
Oh.
Like, you're running this venue. You should know what it is. You should know the venue inside out.
Oh, man.
Like, we have this
What are you
perception as like
doing, man?
lazy, like punk or whatever, but you gotta
Like,
play into it. Come on.
Some
You're not
stereotypes
helping.
about millennials, they're true for certain individuals.
Evidently.
Yeah.
I feel like that could apply to any
you
stereotype,
can-
where
you
any
can-
stereotype is apt to at least one person.
you can find confirmation for any stereotype. It's not
one
yeah.
confirmation.
But I mean, I think it's like 30% of white, like middle class millennials. Like,
Oh
they
yeah,
are that
I know
person.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know how helpful I would be, but yeah, I know what I could help you find one. Probably, maybe, yeah. I would be the one that would help you shine the flashlight onto the circuit
Yeah.
breaker. Yeah.
Like we did with our dad in fixing cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's how it goes.
Oh yeah.
I'll Google it. No I'm kidding.
I
Googling will lead you to fixing so many things.
yeah.
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 Thank you.
Yeah. And I think the ultimate like millennial survival skill is knowing that you can just Google how to do something and get an approximate knowledge of how to do it.
Right,
Sadly,
Jesus once said, "Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Google it and you'll fix something."
Sadly, Google's not natural to a lot of millennials. Like I've been like certain friends Google before. Like they'll ask me
That's
instead
so
of
true.
Googling it.
They don't
My-
know how to just go to Google.
They don't
That's
know how
so
to ask
true.
the right
okay,
questions.
so I know a
okay.
whole lot of stuff about. Okay, that sounds weird. Like I know a whole lot about everything, but like, for example, health insurance. So people ask me like, "Maya, what's the difference between like this and this?" I'm like, "Well, that's an HMO and that's a PPO," and I'm like, "Y'all, you can Google this." I don't know.
Like
But I
I've
guess-
taught people how to make tapes and I've taught people how to sew and like do all these other things that I think like, oh, this is really basic, but they struggle with it.
It's interesting to me more than anything. It's like, oh, you don't know your social security number. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
certain things where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't know. How
And
to do
I've
this.
Oh,
like,
you don't know you could schedule an appointment at the DMV.
yeah.
That's so true.
Oh
or
my-
like call the doctor on your phone. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
Or
so
you
true.
could look at Congress website to read like laws.
Yeah, and
Right.
this one
So
is
true.
this one is more just like specific to our experience in our family. But like, I've worked at jobs where like as part of like all the training for like emergency responses and like and emergencies and stuff, they'll have to go over like in detail like the step-by-step process of using an EpiPen, and I'll just be like,
I got this.
I've
Hold my beer.
I've literally used like upwards of I've literally used close to 100 of these on another person before I know the
Wow.
drill.
So you're good.
Yeah, because our mom goes through so many EpiPens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I tell people that, and they're like, "Holy shit!"
I've only.
Which sucks with the EpiPen shortage right now. That's the lasting
Yeah,
effect of
it's
Hurricane Maria. Is like Puerto
Oh, is
Rico
that-
was developing a lot of medications, and those facilities haven't been restored. And
So that's what that. Oh wow! I didn't even know.
yeah,
that.
so there's
Crazy.
shortages right now of EpiPens, IV Benadryl, sailing bags, like
Yeah,
100
sailing
more.
bags. Interesting.
Like the sailing
'Cause the
bags,
sailing bags used for everything.
everything. Like every hospital needs like thousands of them.
And most patients, I think, like the first kind of instinct is to get them some saline.
Yeah, like they have to like use other methods, like getting people hydrated through their mouth, which could prove challenging with certain cases.
Right, and you still, yeah, that's crazy. Especially, wow, that's crazy. I didn't even thought of that.
Would you guys like to hear the story of the gravy eating contest?
You're like the kid with the ketchup, where you're like, maybe you should put this ketchup on me. Maybe you should hear the story about the gravy. You know, maybe.
I
sort
just
of
don't
kind-
want to be the only one burdened with this knowledge.
I love gravy, and if you're gonna ruin it for me, I'm gonna sue you. So use that information wisely.
Specifically chicken gravy, like that yellow
I love
chicken gravy.
IKEA gravy, so I'm gonna say
IKEA gravy is like I think
it's beef.
I think it's either beef or pork. It's like that kind of whitish gravy.
Oh yeah, no, it's like light brown, but yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Chicken
But
gravy,
yeah,
okay.
this is like out
kinda
of
yellowish.
This is like Cisco food products plastic bag. You slice it open, and there's yellow chicken gravy that comes
I
out.
still love that stuff. But anyway, yeah,
It's still pretty good, yeah. Especially when you've been working at a camp all day and running up and down a hill in 90-degree
Some
heat,
hot
and it's the
gravy.
worst. And then you're hungry as all hell. And so I'm eating like there's like turkey with gravy and mashed potatoes, and like all this is like the best that
like Cisco, yeah,
yeah, the best that these people can do with like Cisco. And like to be fair, they did an excellent job with what
Yeah,
they had.
Shout out, yeah.
But I go to another table when I'm getting ready to like load up my kids and like do a head count and move out back to the cabin and shit before campfire. It's like I see these two kids, one of whom is from my cabin, one of whom is from another cabin, and they've both got like their table's designated bowl of gravy that was supposed to be for everyone to like drizzle on their food.
Like the gravy boats.
and the serving spoon, but it's like a bowl. It's like a
Okay.
cereal bowl filled with gravy, and like they're having their friends go around and like collect the other bowls of gravy and get them
This
refilled.
is like towards the end of the meal. Okay.
Yeah, this is like near the end. Like I said, everybody's getting ready to leave, and I seriously want to just get my kids and get out, but there's this whole thing, and they refuse to leave, and so like there's the other kid who's the referee, and it's like 3, 2, 1, go, and then they just start shoveling gravy into their mouths.
Why don't they just drink it like cereal?
I would
like milk at the end of cereal.
I would assume that eating it this way was a condition of the contest. And so they polish off one bowl and then lick it and then they set it aside and then they go to the next one. Their faces are covered in gravy by bowl 2.
How long was this? How long did that? I look at my own watch.
There were 8 tables, so they were 4 bowls deep by the time it was over.
Oh no! Like 2 children.
Yeah, one of them polished off 4 bowls. The other
they
one,
okay?
the other one made it 3.5. I would assume they're okay now.
Now they've had to work through it.
Yeah, this was 2 years ago. This was the first time that I worked at the camp, and
You did it twice.
yeah, I did it twice.
So you drove to Arizona. You've done a lot of things willingly.
I've done.
Don't think you should do
I've
twice.
opened myself up to a lot of punishment. Let's just put it that.
Wow, what a masochist.
But yeah, pretty much. I just didn't realize it. But they finish. One of them taps out at about 3.5 bowls of gravy.
out.
Yeah. And one of them declares himself the winner with gravy running down his chin and onto his shirt. He's like, I'm the winner.
That's some Lord of the Flies type shit right there.
Oh, yeah. Everything in Lord of the Flies was 100% true.
I'm the gravy king. Like,
Yeah. Everything that I went through at that camp proves that Lord of the Flies is spot on because most of that shit involved just boys.
Is it a boys' camp? Maybe.
No, there was some drama with the girls. I was not as privy to it because I wasn't in the girls' cabins, but like none of it got as Lord of the Flies as the boys did.
Yeah. What would
Boys
be
do the stupid
Queen
stuff.
of the Flies?
Yeah.
We injure ourselves like trying to imitate Jackass.
Yeah, and boy oh boy, I had to take one of those kids.
Boy, oh boy.
Guess which? Yeah, so one of those kids was mine, and the other one was from another cabin. Guess which one was the winner? Mine.
Oh, so he was like living it up, like,
Living it up until the adrenaline wore off.
and his stomach.
So he about made it out the door of the cafeteria before it set in, and then he was like, "Jack, yeah, I'm pissed off at him because he made everybody stay late and caused a mess, and now I got to get him cleaned up." And she's like, "I don't feel good." I'm like, "Oh,
the
no.
hubris of man.
Oh, the evil that men do." It's like,
Yeah.
"All right, let's go.
The hubris fall from
Move it."
grace.
And we got to run,
Tragic hero.
and like we're 3 doors up. We got to run uphill to get him to the cabin.
No.
And so I'm like clearing a path and like getting
Let's
him,
go.
go. And
Speaking of first responders.
then I throw the door open, I'm like, get in the bathroom, go. And then he gets into the stall, and then he does not come out until bedtime. He skips out on the activity, which means that I have to stay in the cabin with him and another kid. So that, like, you know, because there's a policy of like counselors can't be alone with kids and also can't leave kids alone. So it has to be like 2 kids and a counselor or 2 counselors and a kid.
Yeah, we have that too. Yeah.
And so I had to stay with him for hours.
Shout out to that one kid who stayed behind for you, though.
Yeah, that kid was a martyr. I love that kid. We
was a martyr?
just played cards.
Wait, so was he throwing up, or was it the other?
He was not throwing up that I know of.
The other exit. Okay.
It was the other exit, thankfully.
Why is that thankfully? I don't know.
I think of the two,
Is
it's
there
probably
a preference? No, I feel like
I don't
throwing
know.
up is better.
At least that's where it's supposed to be coming out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Just faster
But
than
like
usual at
I
accelerated pace.
just tried to like tune out any sound that was coming from
Natural consequences.
from that portion of the
You're trying to
that
have
was-
a pissing contest.
that
No,
was-
they're trying to have a gravy contest.
Yeah.
it's
And so
super-
like that was another one where the kids discovered consequences.
I love
and
that.
he was
That's
just
the best story ever.
it was I'm like telling it now, but like living it
Living it in full color.
in living color, yes.
Oi. That's a weird phrase for that.
Oh my god.
Do not attempt to do any of the stunts described in this like podcast.
No gravy eating contest.
No,
No
no.
playing the drums with your water bottle. What were
Right.
some other dumb stunts that we brought up on the podcast today?
Oh, I don't know. Buying a 50-ounce water bottle because you're thirsty.
Asking for sex ed.
Oh yeah, asking for sex.
Asking
ed.
for sex ed in the form of outdated memes.
Giggle, giggle because your youth pastor says Bible Hub, and then you're like,
Oh,
Pornhub.
that's the most dangerous stunt of all.
Yeah.
It's like some Snake River Canyon
Put
shit.
put dank memes for life on your name tag, and you have to explain it to a sweet church lady what memes are, and dank memes in particular. Yeah.
We explained this podcast to some like 60, 70-year-old neighbors recently. It's actually easier than explaining it to like our people our parents' age, because they got it. Like
They know what radio is.
Yeah,
so,
I was like, yeah, it's like an old talk radio show, but we put it on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's how my mom has explained it to our grandpa too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that's how I can explain what an audio drama is, because anybody old enough to remember that, it'll just be like
spaghetti
it's like an
western
audio
and
drama,
stuff.
but I put it on the internet.
Remember War of the
Like,
Worlds?
it's like a radio drama, but I put it on the internet.
I
Like,
love
like old
radio
Amos
dramas.
and Andy.
Amos and Andy.
Or the Lone Ranger.
Lone Ranger.
Gunsmoke.
Bonanza.
I think Gunsmoke and Bonanza were just on TV, right?
I feel like
No, they had a radio show,
Yeah,
too.
Gunsmoke was.
Alright.
I don't know about Bonanza, but I know
Alright.
Gunsmoke was.
Oh fuck, that's right. Yeah,
I liked Bonanza or MASH. Remember that? Show?
MASH. Yeah,
The
the show that lasted longer than the war it was about.
Yeah, the Korean War. Yeah. That's so true. Well, it's been delightful.
It
We
has.
could wrap it up around
Yeah.
here.
What time is it? Oh, wow. Time flies when you're talking about sex ed, gravy, and water bottles.
Among other
and Black
things.
Lives Matter, yeah.
and religion and all kinds of things.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah, we went all over the place, which is kind of our MO. So thank you so much for coming
Thanks
along
for
with us
coming on the
for
podcast.
this wild ride of various
Yeah,
topics.
It was lit. I enjoyed it. Yeah. What would be this podcast without some oddly, kind of awkwardly thrown in common colloquial slang? It was lit, said the youth minister.
That's like
LMAO, bruh.
Yeah,
that's the connective tissue. That's the
right.
connective tissue that holds this entire podcast together.
Shaka, bruh.
And you can't tell,
No.
but I just dabbed.
You can tell by the audible groans of everyone else.
Exactly. That's what it's all
I
about.
used to do like the one-handed one where I was like, it's kind of more suave.
Once Paul Ryan does it, it's dead. Thanks for listening, folks. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and listen to
Oh, the Faith to Go podcast.
Faith to Go.
You can find it at myfaithtogo.org. And we have the podcast episodes, quick bios, also gospel related. Every week we release videos and discussion questions and prayers and different activities for people to do as families, individually, based on the gospel for that week, including the podcast. And we're on Spotify. So according to Ian's the one who found it out that it was on Spotify. I didn't even know that.
I'm a Spotify millennial.
Evidently. But yeah, myfaithtogo.org.
yeah.
Yeah,
Get
bye.
yourself some religious Go-Gurt. Bye-bye.
Really, Gogurt. I love that. Jesus Gogurt. Jesus Gert.
God-Gurt.
Gogurt. Ugh.